Hi there, and welcome to this webinar all about how to use cleansing for weight loss. I'm Sherry Rothwell, and I'm super excited to have you here tonight, either live or on the replay. So I'm just going to share my screen with you and bring up my slides. All right, here we go. Now let's see if I need to mute anything. Well, if I do, I don't know how, so we'll just get started. All right, I'm gonna press play here. So this webinar is all about how to use cleansing for weight loss. So some of you might be here because you want to lose weight, or you might have been attracted to the webinar because you were interested in using food-based cleansing for your own health. And the reason why cleansing works for attaining ideal weight is because it actually brings you back into a state of health. And as a good side effect of that, your body just normalizes your weight. So this is the beauty of doing a food-based cleanse, is that you're giving your body what it requires, taking away the things it doesn't, and allowing it to do what it's designed to do, which is to basically heal you. So this Delish Diet Deep Cleanse that I'm going to be telling you about at the end of the webinar is basically a 21-day journey to start your path to permanent weight loss while getting shit done. So it's not just about the body, but also about looking at your whole life and seeing what needs to be cleansed. All right. So this webinar is going to be showing you exactly what you need to do to get started to lose that first 15 pounds, or for some of you, it might be that last 15 pounds of stubborn weight. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sherry Rothwell again, and I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, and I help women let go of the weight without giving up the rich, creamy, sweet comfort foods they love. And that way they can do it in a way that's sustainable, deprivation-free, and of course, it's permanent. When you can actually do something to lose weight that you can maintain for the rest of your life, means you actually get to maintain that weight loss permanently. And that was my experience. So I've been in your shoes. I wasn't someone who just decided to start working in the field of weight loss and never struggled with weight loss or any issues with my body or body image. I've definitely struggled with my weight since I was a teenager, basically since I started menstruating and started getting PMS. I struggled with my weight. So there's a lot of different stories that I could tell you about, but I'm just going to share a few of them that are actually related to some things that you might be going through yourself when it comes to losing weight currently. So I've done things like starving myself for long periods of time. For example, my grad, that was the first time I really starved myself. And of course I lost the weight. And of course, I also gained it back practically as quickly. Just a few weeks, really. And I wish that I had known what I'm about to share with you on this webinar at that time in my life, because I could have saved myself a whole bunch of trouble and just kind of misery, right? It's never fun to be starving. Makes you grumpy, and it's not good for your health, and it causes nutrient deficiency and then rebound weight gain. Because when we go into a fasting mode, we will also, the way we're actually designed, will automatically also go into feasting mode when we start eating food again, right? So just by nature, doing things like starving yourself is setting yourself up to fail. So I had no idea that there was any other way at the time. So that's all I knew what to do. And the thing is that a lot of us actually come to the idea of wanting to lose weight because of certain things that we want to look good for, or maybe we're embarrassed or ashamed about how we look, and we have these time limits that we put on ourselves. So this experience of the grad, wanting to look good in my grad photos as a keepsake, was one of those moments for me. And if I had known what I know now, I could have used that as something to motivate me to get started, because getting started is the hardest part, right? But instead of actually just getting to the ideal weight and then rebounding, I could have actually got to that weight and stayed there and got healthier in the process. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today, how you can also do. So another time in my life, I ate nothing for 11 days. All I did was I drank water with a little bit of cayenne pepper and maple syrup in it. So it added up to about 250 calories a day that I was literally eating for 11 days. And I actually did not lose 1 pound, like nothing, like zero. Okay. So here's an example of how counting calories is not the answer, right? Like if that was the answer, then there's no like logical reason why I could have like eaten so little, nothing, had hardly any calories and not lost weight, right? It's an example of it. There's many examples of how this happens for people where they restrict calories, they don't lose any weight. So the mindset too of how I went into these things is really unfortunate, right? So I invite you to consider when you're going through a process of learning this, to not just think about your goal of wanting to lose weight, but also to think about the mindset that you're stepping into it with, right? Like if the only thing you're thinking about is just get to that weight for this, specific reason, then that's all you're holding in mind. You're not actually holding in mind a life transformation. You're not holding in mind actually keeping the weight off. And you're going into it from a place of trying to force your body to do something that you want it to do within a specific time period for something that is superficial, right? To really be ready to do a cleanse, you have to be coming to it from a place of self-love and self-care and doing it for nourishment and to enhance and raise your standard and level of health. Unfortunately, in these two situations that I'm telling you about, I came at it from a place of really like having not that feeling of self-love at all. It was more like I was hating my body and I wanted it to do what I wanted it to do. And I wanted to try to force it to do what I wanted it to do. And that's not effective. So as you can see, even though I, at this point after having babies, was doing what should have resulted into weight loss, my body fought back. And this will especially happen when you're older, right? Like when you're younger, this whole starving yourself, counting calories and exercising excessively will usually result in temporary weight loss. But once somebody is older, they have more stress, their metabolism is damaged, their hormones are off balance, etc., it won't even work anymore, even temporarily. Like it won't even work at all. Like in this situation, for example, where I didn't even lose 1 pound after starving myself for 11 days. However, I actually had a totally different experience later in my life where I actually decided to put myself on a cleanse for the specific purpose of healing my body and healing my son. So this is the sort of like the origin story of how this whole experience of me learning how to cleanse in a way that increases your health so that you can have the health benefits. And also you just get that good side effect of losing weight. So when my son was 4 years old, he had eczema and I tried everything, homeopaths, naturopaths. I flew to Vancouver, went to some special clinic, did some special thing for allergies. Nothing worked with my son. I had already been a trained nutritionist and had studied at the Edison Institute of Nutrition. And there I learned about this leaky gut diet. And it looked so hard. It looked so difficult. I was like, I can't do this. Like I cannot put my 4-year-old on a diet that's that restrictive. But after spending so much money and so much time on trying to heal this eczema with barely any results at all, like maybe just like a little bit of the edge taken off on the redness, I finally just like gave in. And I was like, this is the last thing I have. So isn't it how interesting sometimes how we have exactly what we need right in front of us, and yet we don't do it because we go into resistance, or we tell ourselves, we go into victim mode. Basically, I was in total victim mode. I remember being on the phone to my friend crying about, how awful this is. I have done so many things to be a healthy person. I was already a nutritionist, eating a whole foods diet. I had you know, a natural pregnancy, natural birth. I ate whole foods while I was pregnant. And now my son has eczema. And I've so-called done everything right, and it's all gone wrong. And if you've ever experienced a child with this or had it yourself, you know how intensive it is, right? So it was really, really hard for me to watch my son be scratching and itching himself. He was literally like, he looked like a burn victim from like his entire upper thighs, and nothing was making a difference. So we finally went on this leaky gut diet. And in 3.5 weeks, he was completely free of eczema. And I lost 15 pounds eating this way with him, right? So that was really amazing. So that was the first time I got to explore how doing something healing would lead to health benefits. And then of course, obviously he didn't need to lose weight, but myself at that point, I needed to lose some weight after having had babies. And I actually let go of that 15 pounds at that point. Now, it didn't last forever, okay? Unfortunately, there was more circumstances in my life that happened after that that led to weight gain that didn't have to do with a change in diet. I was still eating the same diet, but I was in a state of chronic stress, and chronic stress drives up your insulin, which is your hormone that causes fat storage. So I was eating a vegetarian diet, very high in complex carbs, which means it was very high in natural sugars, like sugars that are inherent in the food itself. That's what we call carbohydrates. And when those foods are broken down, they're broken down into glucose, and your body doesn't really care whether they're natural whole foods or not. When you have insulin resistance due to a lot of different things, hormone imbalances, stress, those are the main ones, right? And anybody with any health issues is going to be having those problems simultaneously. It actually makes you so that even if you're eating natural whole foods, you can become overweight. Now, I became so overweight that I became obese. I was literally obese on the scale, like according to the BMI. So I literally got up to size 16 and did not know what to do. All I knew at this point was that you really, if you want to, you know, stay healthy and have your ideal weight, you have to eat a whole foods diet. But I was already doing that, right? And then I knew from experience that doing the leaky gut diet would result in weight loss. Not just from doing it that time with my son, but I had worked with a lot of people in between that time, because my son, when people heard my story about how I healed my son of eczema, they wanted me to share with them how they could heal their children of food sensitivities and themselves. So I did quite a bit of like group programs and working privately with people to help them do that. And one of the beneficial, good side effects of doing these healing diets was that people would always lose about 15 pounds in 21 days, right? Because we'd start with the most strictest part for the first 21 days. And so I actually had been asked to speak on a telesummit on weight loss, and I was obese, right, at the time. So I could have said no, I could have declined, and in my shame, right? So, in this picture of the before, that's the weight I was when I was invited to be on this holistic weight loss summit, where I was speaking alongside very famous people like David Wolfe and Marianne Williamson and Dr. Gabriel Cousins, etc. A lot of different people, and I was kind of freaked out about it. But I thought, you know what? I can just use this as something to motivate me. Just like you may have your thing that you've come to this training that is motivating you to have a deadline in front of you that you want to get to your ideal weight, or at least lose 15 pounds. So I decided to use it as a catalyst. Instead of being ashamed and not stepping into this opportunity, I decided to go for it. So I was like, well, I know one thing that works, right? And it's to do a healing cleanse. So I put myself on a cleanse, just like I'm about to share with you today in this webinar. And I lost the 13 pounds in 2 weeks. It didn't even take getting up to the 3rd week, right? So I needed to lose these pounds to get on this call. So I started it late. I didn't even leave myself 21 days to start this cleanse, but I got myself out of the category of being obese into just overweight, which made me feel better, right? More in alignment with that. I actually knew how to help people lose weight. So on that training, that interview, I shared the first 2 steps. Okay, so what you're gonna learn in today's training is something that you can do for longer than 3 weeks. You can actually, there's 2 phases to this approach to cleansing, and you can go back and forth between phase 1 and phase 2 until you get to your ideal weight. That's the fastest way you can let go of the weight. Or what you can do is you can go from this program onto the Delish Diet Maintenance program, and you'll still continue to lose the weight, just not at the same speed, right? So that is basically what brought me here, is all the experience that I had helping people heal themselves and seeing that as a result of healing themselves, they just naturally lost that weight without trying. So you're in the right place if you want to use your weight loss journey as a catalyst to up-leveling your health and your life. And that's really what my work is about. You know, I don't care if you're coming here just for the sake of something, you know, like superficial or focused on vanity. I'm just excited to have you here to give you a new paradigm and a new perspective. And hopefully in that process, you'll want to actually step into this with more than wanting to lose weight, but actually up-leveling your health and your life in the process. You're also in the right place if you have a deadline coming up. So if you have a grad, a photo shoot, a party, a reunion, a wedding, a date, a dress you want to fit into for something, this is going to get off that 15 pounds that'll allow you to do that in a short, very short period of time. And also if you're up for a challenge, because this is not the easiest thing to do. Okay, it is not something that you know, can just step into, jump on the bandwagon without being prepared properly. And so there's the preparation part of it, which of course in the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse program that I'm going to share about at the end of this webinar, I give you all the tools to get prepared. All the trainings that you require to get yourself mentally prepared, because it's the mental preparation is just as important as the physical preparation to set yourself up to be successful. So it's not, you know, the easy way, but it is the fast way. So if you're looking for speed, then you're in the right place. So here's what I'm going to share with you in tonight's training. We're going to talk about the erroneous fears that you might have right now about cleansing, that you need to let go of because they're keeping you fat and they're keeping you sick. There's a lot of different belief systems out there that people have about food and attachment to food that really, really keep us stuck with our health and with our weight. Number 2, we're going to look at how cleansing creates a foundation for your body to heal itself, and therefore enabling you to return to your divine right body design, which basically means you're a naturally thin person who does not have to obsess about dieting. Something has happened in your life that actually brought you to a place of imbalance that caused you to gain weight. That's not who you really are. That's not how you were designed. And number 3, I'm going to tell you exactly how it works and what to do. So if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you're going to know what to do after this webinar to get past any plateau that you might have and to, you know, get those results in 21 days or less. But if you're somebody who wants the support, the resources, the community, and the process, then don't worry. I'm going to share with you later how you can learn more and get support through the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse program. So make sure you stay until the end of the training, because I'm going to share with you my 3 special tips for people who know they need to cleanse, but they're afraid that they won't be able to give up their guilty pleasures. A lot of people are very nervous about the idea of having any limits around what they can and can't eat. It's, you know, there's lots of elements to that, and we'll be getting into that at that point at the end of the webinar. So this training is perfect for you if you're feeling heavy, acidic, exhausted, and chronically not in the best mood. These are signs that you need a cleanse. You want to jumpstart your weight loss so you can finally take it all the way to your ideal weight. A lot of people struggle with not getting results fast enough, and then that makes them feel like they're in a state of futility, like nothing works for them. This mindset, this belief system so many people have from having failed at dieting so many times that they just cannot stay with it long enough to get the results. So that jumpstart can really help you to keep going. Number 3, you have you know that you have emotional weight and a shit ton of personal stuff in your life that's draining you, and you want to take your self to the next level internally, meaning like internally inside of your body, but also internally in terms of like your spirit, your soul, your mindset, who you are, who you're being. You want to take that to the next level while getting healthier and hotter at the same time. And we all want that, right? You need a reset. Okay, you've gotten off track with eating healthy and you find yourself constantly craving crap and you just can't seem to get yourself back on track. Maybe you're like me and you simply just want to take your health, your beauty, your energy, and longevity to the next level. You just love how much better you feel when you give your body the attention that it needs. You don't even have to want to lose weight. You might be here for a health benefit rather than an actual weight loss benefit. Number 6, you want to get shit done. You want things off your plate and you want to create space in your life for something new. Embarking upon a cleanse from that holistic perspective is like incredible, right? Because you can create so much space in your life and like a new canvas of your life to create from. So does this sound familiar? Are you done with diets, but you still want to lose weight, right? A lot of people are just, they want to lose weight, but they're just sick of the whole dieting approach. And you're looking for something different. You're looking for something outside of the box, something transformational. Do you feel like you're inflamed? You got pain? Maybe you feel puffy, like retaining water. You wake up in the morning, you look at your face, and it's puffy, right? Maybe you're drying out. Your skin is drying out. Your hair is drying out. It's not shiny anymore. It's frizzy. It won't grow long. All those kinds of things. These are signs that you need deeper nourishment, right? So this is what you're going to discover about cleansing. This food-based cleansing approach is not just about the cleansing aspect, but it's about the deep nourishment that your body requires. Do you feel heavy? Gross? Like you can't seem to stop yourself from eating crap despite your best intentions to eat healthy. It's like sometimes the worse you feel, the worse decisions you make from that place. And you just need to stop the cycle. And again, you want to lose anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds before a bikini season, a wedding, a grad, reunion, upcoming event. Maybe you're going on a holiday, you need that bikini that you love and you want to be able to wear it. Okay, so a cleanse is the only way to do this quickly. Okay, there's a lot of ways to lose weight. If your metabolism isn't that damaged, you can starve yourself. You can restrict calories, you can get there. But of course, we're going to have that rebound. So, you might get down to, get into that bikini before your holiday, but then you haven't had a paradigm shift. You don't have a lifestyle shift. You're just going to eat crap when you get on this holiday. And by the time you get home, you're likely going to be heavier than when you started because of that rebound effect. So how about instead of dieting, you just skip that self-punishment, right? Because that's essentially what it ends up being, punishing our body with the feasting, not being able to digest that food. It's hard on the body, it's hard on the liver. And then we inevitably gain that rebound weight and then typically end up punishing our own selves in terms of like the mind, right? Like the self-talk that we do. We feel bad and then we call ourselves down, right? We basically berate or belittle ourselves. So instead of doing that, using that deadline, any special day that you have coming up as an opportunity to take your health to the next level in the process. Okay, you really can lose weight quickly and it be healthy, but it's how you're doing it that's going to determine the impact on your body and whether or not that weight loss is actually going to remain. So when I told you about how I went from 176 pounds down to 163, I never, even when I went up and down, okay, as I lost weight on this journey, losing 12 dress sizes, there were times I went up and down, but I never went above 163. The experience that my body went through, that level of healing, changed my weight set point. You know, I'd have to do something really drastically unhealthy for my weight set point to go back up like that again, right? Like it just I never have ever had to deal with that again, because the effects were permanent. Okay. So as long as after you're done the cleanse, you actually up level your standards and up level your level of, you know, what you're willing to accept as what is healthy food, what that looks like, you're not going to go back and gain that weight. So it's really, really important because a lot of approaches that people use to losing weight don't have that philosophical perspective, don't have that increase in health consciousness. And that's one of the reasons why people just they can't maintain the results, because they go back to eating the foods that are actually not healthy for their body. So then what happens is they are literally discreating what they created, right? So they ate in a healthy way. They then created health in their body. Then they get to that ideal space. And then if you go back to the old way, obviously you're going to recreate the same results. So that's the beauty of doing something like the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse, like joining a program and getting that transformation so that you can raise your health consciousness. So you'd never dream of going back to being that person who would ever lower their standards to treat their body in such a way that they would put things in it that are not natural, that are really processed, things like that. You literally, once you just raise your standards around this, you don't want to. Once you've experienced a higher level of health, you've up leveled what you're willing to accept in your life, and now you've had a higher experience and you've experienced how delicious real healthy whole foods are, you wouldn't want to eat that stuff, right? Like you would taste it and go, this doesn't even taste like real food. Like I can't even believe that I used to eat this and think it was good. This is what happens. Then you don't have to fight with yourself to not eat it, because now it becomes gross because you've changed. Your physiology has changed. An example of that would be like, for example, a lot of people have dysbiosis in the gut where they have bad bacteria growing. And that bad bacteria, when you're feeding it through processed foods, you're promoting its overgrowth in your body. And it actually is craving that junk food because that keeps it thriving, right? So it will tell you to eat that food. It'll send a message to you to eat it. It'll even send a message to your gut to stop producing hydrochloric acid or reduce the amount of hydrochloric acid in your stomach, which is what helps you digest proteins and fats, to a lower level so that you're having food go through your stomach and not be that well digested, so that it putrefies. It's like fermentation of proteins in your body. And that actually feeds the growth of bad bacteria. And they can eat the food because you can't, right? And it keeps them healthy instead of you. So when you go on something like a cleanse like this, you reset all that, you stop feeding them, they start to die off, you start feeding the good bacteria, those ratios balance, and now you're not fighting with these little beasts inside of you that are literally telling you what to do and things that are not good for you, that are not going to help you. So that's just one example of how it would change. If you have different flora, you're going to have different cravings. You're going to crave healthy food when you have healthy flora. All right. So some of the other benefits of it besides weight loss are that you experience smooth digestion. Because remember, I said that how I developed this program was out of years of helping people with digestion. And as a result, they would lose weight, right? So this program is going to really make your digestion work much more optimally. And because of that, you're not going to be bloated and you're finally going to have a flat stomach, no matter what weight you are, right? Like how much better would that feel, right? Because even if you're skinny, I remember the times in my life where I was actually skinny, but I was so bloated all the time from poor digestion that I just felt fat, right? So that's really, really helpful. What about having bright, sparkly eyes, right? That's a result of feeling light, okay? Smooth, clear, and dewy skin. When you're properly hydrated and you've got nourishing fats being absorbed into your body, that's reflected in nice, smooth, clear skin that's youthful looking. Shiny hair and strong nails, Again, that's going to be as a result of absorbing nutrients properly. And then having that complexion glow, right? Going from, say, having a sallow complexion where you're not well nourished to having a good color in your skin. And then, of course, there's the freedom from aches and pains. There's a lot of things right now that you're just kind of settling for. You're just assuming that this is what has to happen as you age. But actually, these things are, they're the result of inflammation in your body. And when we do a cleanse, what we're specifically doing is bringing inflammation down in your body. And then that means that those aches and pains just sort of go away on their own. Good moods, steady energy, and more motivation. Okay, so this is like something that is like classic. It happens to all of my clients, and it's going to happen to you as well. Okay, and there's going to be a whole bunch of random things that you didn't even know were related to your diet. You know, because of our medical paradigm, we think that you know, we imagine our body like a machine and certain parts are broken. We don't realize that actually our health is a whole. And when we bring health in any way to our body, we get good side effects to that. So random things that we didn't even know that we could live without and actually heal ourselves will just go away without us even focusing on them at all. So you're going to get a whole bunch of surprise benefits. Okay. So you can lose 15 pounds in 21 days and in the process take your life to the next level. So that's my wish for you. Okay, so in case you don't think this is possible, I'm going to share with you just a few clients and some of the results that they've already had. And this is with the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse. Okay, so here's one person saying she's done like the 3 weeks. She's down 15 pounds, just like I promised, and she found it totally manageable. Okay, so she was surprised that she actually is reactive to some foods. Okay, so this is the beautiful thing, is that when you're doing this, because there's a limit of foods you can eat, if you do have food sensitivities or intolerances, you're much more able to identify what they are because you're not eating as many foods. Okay, so if there's anything left that is bothering you, you'll notice. Because sometimes people have food sensitivities or intolerances to things that are not normally considered inflammatory foods. And in order to heal your gut and to get your inflammation down completely, you do have to avoid those foods for a certain amount of time. And then when you give your gut that rest, it actually heals, and then you can reintroduce them later. With your gut healed, you're not going to react to them anymore because it's healed and sealed. So here's another one. Another client says, Sherry, thank you. The morning of day 3, my issues resolved. I'm noticing a big difference. My tummy feels tighter for sure. She says she doesn't have a scale. She wasn't trying to lose weight, but she feels lighter and her tummy is flattened, right? Again, because of this bloating thing, right? That so many people, even though they're thin, they feel fat because they have chronic bloating. Hey, here's another woman who is not overweight, as you can see. But she did the 3-day cleanse and lost 5 pounds, okay, going from 137 to 132. And the 3-day cleanse will do that for somebody with a metabolism that's not damaged, right? Some people will struggle to be able to get quick results because their metabolism has been damaged for so many years of dieting. And that's just a sign that you even need to do this more, okay? And she was saying she was at the end of her period, which might have factored in, which is interesting because actually usually people, when they're on their period, they that'll actually slow down their weight loss because of the hormonal stuff. But she was like literally at the end of her period and she still lost 5 pounds in 3 days. Okay, and then moved on to the 21-day cleanse. Obviously not because she needs to lose weight, but there's health benefits, right? Not everybody who comes to this is trying to lose 15 pounds. They want to up-level themselves. So cleansing is not a new concept. This is something that people have been doing like since the dawn of civilization. Fasting and detoxing have been performed as part of religious rituals and ceremonies. Okay, so all forms of early medicine included cleansing as a component, such as yoga, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine. Most religions have fasting in them. Egyptian medicine and even the Hippocrates, who's known as the father of modern medicine, were into cleansing. So we're going to now look at some of the things that people believe about cleansing that are just not true or half-truths. So the first is that cleansing is a fantasy and toxins don't accumulate in our body. So, you know, I've seen articles go around about people knocking this idea of cleansing and making fun of it. And, you know, it's sort of illogical in a sense, like, you know, to say, oh, well, there's no research on this, so you like can't prove it, da 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 da. And it's like, you know what, who's going to do research on this? First of all, like, who's going to benefit from doing research on these cleanses or cleansing products? Nobody's going to be doing that. Our research money goes into drugs, right? Like, that's just how the medical system is set up. So you don't want to just stop at that point and not really consider and question this because somebody says, oh, there's not studies to prove that cleansing is a thing. Okay. So, and part of it is the language, right? So let's look at, just use some logic. So we live in a society in which right now there's a lot of toxins in the environment. Nobody's going to argue that. So if we are putting those things on our skin and we're breathing them in, then how could they not be getting into our bodies, right? So, interesting. Now, the part where you could say, okay, well, maybe they're not accumulating in the body. So in a person who's healthy and their liver is functioning optimally, they're not going to accumulate toxins in their body because your liver is literally designed. It has what it needs to actually take toxins and break them apart and turn them into other chemicals that can be eliminated through your colon. And then you can have a bowel movement and eliminate them from the body. Your body's been designed to be able to do that. And so then people will say, then there's no point in cleansing because you can do that. Well, that's nice and everything, except for the fact that some people don't do that properly. They have enzyme deficiencies, or they actually have nutritional deficiencies that do not allow their liver to break down those chemicals. So people often don't understand that vitamins and minerals are coenzymes. So what they do is they're like little, sort of like they help they catalyze reactions, chemical reactions in the body. So if you're missing a nutrient that is required for a chemical reaction in the body, then that reaction is not actually going to happen, or it's not going to happen in optimal amounts. So in the liver requires a lot of nutrition to do that. So there's, in the liver, we have what is true detoxification, right? It's the liver is literally detoxing things, these chemicals that come into your body, breaks them down so that they can be eliminated through the colon. But if you don't have the nutrition, then what can sometimes happen is actually the liver, when the nutrients that are required for phase 1 detoxification that happens inside the liver, and this is chemical detoxification. It's not like the phases of a diet. Like, for example, I'll talk about phase 1 and phase 2 in the Delicious Diet Deep Cleanse. That's, you know, specific to the Delicious Diet Deep Cleanse. When I'm talking about liver detoxification, phase 1 and phase 2, these are like, this is what's happening inside every single person's body, whether they ever go on a cleanse or not. Okay, they have this capacity to detoxify toxins and chemicals from the environment. So in phase 1, if you're missing the nutrients that are required to properly do that, some of those chemicals get broken down into things that are even more toxic than the chemical that we're started with. Because what's supposed to happen is then in the phase 2, chemicals are supposed to come in to break it down, or like reactions. Those don't happen if the phase 2 nutrients are not there, right? So there, you can have a breakdown in the system at any point. And so what the point is that sometimes you can actually, in the process of detoxification, be creating more and worse chemicals for the body to have to deal with. So that's one area where it's really like this idea of cleansing and detoxification is really tangible. It's something physiological that happens in the body. What about if you can't eliminate? So that's great if your liver can break down these toxins. What if you cannot have a bowel movement? Well, then they can't get out. So what does it happen? They get recirculated back into the system. The liver has to keep dealing with them. Now, at some point, the liver can't do it anymore. It gets overburdened. It's got like over 500 different things it has to do in your body. It can't spend its day constantly breaking down things that it already broke down. So what your liver will do, because your body is very intelligent, is it will go, well, where can I put this stuff? I got to put it somewhere. And I don't want to put it in these vital organs, right? All these good organs you have, your heart, your liver, your pancreas, your intestines, right? Like all these different organs that you have that keep you alive. We don't want to put the toxins there. So instead, the body is intelligent. It takes the toxins and it puts them in your joints and in your fat cells, far away from the internal organs. That's a safe place to put toxins. This is why often people can't lose weight, is because their liver is overburdened and it will not even let you burn fat, because it knows that when that fat gets burned, those toxins are going to be released and it's already overburdened and it cannot handle it. Same thing with the joints, right? So if you have joint pain, then that is actually something that it has to be addressed at the level of detoxification and cleansing and looking at the health of your liver. Okay, so that's something, some tangible things that explain why cleansing and detoxification is really, really important. So you'll notice that some of those chemicals will be coming from outside that you'll be exposed to, and some will be generated in the process of detoxifying those chemicals not properly. So you're generating more things. There's also free radicals, right? We have free radical damage in our body from eating things that are inflammatory and have free radicals in them. That's another thing that is, toxic to the body, that is due to making the wrong food choices. So there's another thing to consider. So we have toxics that are outside of us, toxins coming in from what we put on our skin, what we're breathing, what we're eating. And then we have toxins that are actually generated inside of the body, just like I just mentioned, two of them, free radicals, and also improperly broken down previous chemicals that were improperly broken down because of the liver being overburdened and not being able to detoxify properly on the inside. So those are two things that we would just call auto intoxication. So it's actually being generated in the body. So another one we already touched on is the growth of bad bacteria in the body. This bad bacteria, it basically when your digestion is slow and your liver is overburdened and this food does not get broken down properly, partly because the bad bacteria are telling your stomach not to produce hydrochloric acid, so it can't get it, so that you don't digest it properly, so it can eat it. Well, these bad bacteria, they actually piss and shit in your body. That's just like the simplest way I can say it. Okay, what they do is they actually produce byproducts, and these are inflammatory chemicals that cause leaky gut. Okay, so we get this undigested food, and then these bacteria are feeding off of it, and then they're excreting all these chemicals that are acidic. So they are causing like an acid, too much excess acid, and causing inflammation in the gut lining. Okay, so that's what we call autointoxication. It's generated by poor digestion and dysbiosis, imbalance of good versus bad bacteria in the body. Okay, so toxins can come from outside and they can come from inside. So in the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse, we handle those internally generated toxins that we call autointoxication. And how we do that is because the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse program is a gut healing diet. So another thing is just not understanding, this is like another erroneous belief that cleansing and detox are the same thing. Okay, so we use them interchangeably, but there's many different words for it, right? So a lot of these, there's cleansing or detox kits, right, that you find at the health food store. And I don't find them that effective because the dietary recommendations that go along with them are not extreme enough to get the extreme results, right? Like if you want big results, you have to do something really different. They often don't tell you to eliminate the foods that would actually give you the biggest bang for your buck, but they give you a lot of herbs, okay? So what I found is that herbs can be really helpful on any kind of cleanse to diminish some of the cleansing reactions that you might be having because of all of these herbs and supplements that are in these program or like box kits of cleanses are actually aimed at helping your liver detoxify, right? So you're going to get less side effects in terms of detox reactions. There are ways in the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse that you can actually slow down or stop those if you're getting them with food. You don't actually have to use supplements. It's not bad to take the supplements, but all I'm saying is the kits just do not give you the right dietary recommendations to get big results. Okay, so people go on, they call them cleansing, they call them detox. What's happening is when we're doing something that's cleansing, it's the kind of food that we're choosing. It has a cleansing effect on the body, or food has a building effect on the body. And some are both, building and cleansing. And we'll get into that as we go along here. But detoxification is something chemical that's happening in your body that your liver is doing. You're not doing it. You're never doing it. You take action through the choices that you make that are basically cleansing just choices that allow your body to cleanse, get it into cleansing mode. But the detoxification is happening beneath the surface level. It's happening unconsciously, and you're always detoxing, right? Like your liver's always working. So you're always in detox mode. But we can support our liver to go into deeper detox. And we can do that by taking approach to cleansing. Okay, another thing that people often struggle with in terms of thinking about wanting to do a cleanse is that they're gonna just imagine that they're gonna be feeling like they're deprived and starving the whole time, and don't even want to like imagine their life without using food for pleasure, right? Yes, there's many diets that will feel like that. For example, the story I told you about how I just drank water with cayenne pepper and lemon for 11 days. That was pretty much feeling like I was starving and deprived. Same thing when I was leading up to my grad and starving myself on purpose. That definitely felt like starving and deprivation. But this approach to cleansing using a food-based cleanse means you're eating a lot of food. So there's no way that you can be starving because there's no limit to how much food you can eat. The guidelines with the cleanse, the container is about what you eat. It's not about how much. You should eat as much as you possibly need to eat to feel full, because we're actually nourishing you to higher levels of health. We're nourishing your metabolism. We're not trying to cut calories to get these results. There's no counting of any calories. It's basically like the cleanse tells you what to eat. You decide how much and when, okay? People are often afraid that they're going to become nutrient deficient. And yes, you will if you're doing some of these cleanses that are actually starving diets or low calorie diets, but not on a cleanse that is food-based, like the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse, because you're gonna be eating more nutrient-dense foods than you're even used to eating. So you're actually going to become more, you're gonna have more deep nutrition in your diet. This is gonna give your liver the nutrients it needs to properly detoxify you. Okay. And then finally, the idea that you'll just die or get sick from detox reactions. Like people are like really afraid. Like they just imagine like if they don't eat certain foods that they will die. Like dairy and wheat, for example. They might, or they feel like they're dying from their what's it called? Like sort of because of the addiction, right? There's a lot of people have addictions to foods that are inflammatory. It's sort of like a detox / addiction cycle that people go through, where this thing is actually not making them feel well, but they have an addiction to it. So every time they stop eating it, they feel even worse because they go through cleanse. Their body, as soon as you get that food out of your system, your body's like, oh, yay, I get to cleanse now. But then sometimes that doesn't feel good, right? When you're not actually prepared to get started. And the thing about this is that you are going to have to go to cold turkey, right? If you're addicted to food, just like if you're addicted to something like alcohol or a drug, you do have to go cold turkey. And a lot of people are addicted to sugar. Okay, but once you get through the first couple days, you're fine. Okay, and the beautiful thing is that we have a lot of amazing recipes in this program that you can have that will feel like you're having sugar and you're not. Okay, so for example, we have a coconut fudge recipe. We have a lot of recipes that are made with cocoa but are not sweetened with sugar. You won't even, you'll feel like it's decadent. It's the most decadent cleanse you could possibly ever do. All right, so let's look at how does cleansing actually heal. Let's see if I can move this. No, I guess that's where I'm gonna stay on the screen. It keeps covering the titles. Okay, so how does cleansing actually heal? So it eliminates inflammation in the body. And inflammation is actually the root cause of all the diseases, right? Like almost every disease that exists has at the base of it inflammation. And underneath that inflammation, what's driving that inflammation is digestive issues, poor digestion. So when you heal the gut, you heal the inflammation, and then the symptoms go away. Okay, so healing digestion also is so important because it actually allows you to get that deep nourishment of the food. So if you have poor digestion and all this inflammation going on in your gut, you eat the best quality, organic, healthy foods, well, you're not going to absorb that nutrition the way that you could. Okay? So it's sort of going to waste, and it's not getting, you're just basically feeding the bad bacteria, right? Because it's like rotting, putrefying in your body because you're not digesting it. Okay, and finally, it's that rest and recovery mode. When you go into it from a holistic perspective and you do a whole life cleanse rather than just focusing on the body, this basically alleviates chronic stress, allows your body to go into rest and recovery mode. So that along with the nutrition, you actually can go into healing mode. Okay, this is one of the problems with a lot of people who are, they think they're doing everything right and they're eating perfectly and they have all these limitations, but they never can get into rest or recovery mode. They're constantly in the states of chronic stress. Doesn't matter if you're eating like really good food, if your nervous system is not in rest and digest. If it's not in rest and digest, that means it's in fight or flight. And when you're in fight or flight, your body is thinking, well, I need to run. I don't really need to digest food right now because I need to be running. So it shuts down your digestive system, and all of the energy goes in your body to your limbs and not in the organs where it needs to be to rest and digest that food and then recover and heal, right? So if you think of how does an animal in the wild heal? Well, it goes and sleeps and it basically doesn't eat, right? It just literally lets its body rest and recover and then it eats. Now, most people are not ready to fast, right? So fasting is also another way of getting your body into healing mode. This is the closest thing that you can do to fasting that's not fasting. And instead of getting depleted in nutrition, you're actually going to be adding nutrition to your diet, right? A lot of us don't have that luxury to just stop doing everything, right? And just go to sleep for a few weeks and fast. So this is the closest thing that you can do to get those same results as fasting without actually having to starve. And you can go on with your life and maintain what you have to do and get into rest and recovery mode. Okay, so these are the 10 steps to cleanse your life. Okay, so obviously in the time that we have here, I can't get into every single step, but I'm going to get up to, in this training, I'm going to cover up to step 4, because what I promised you is that no matter what, even if you decided that you didn't want to do the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse, that what you would learn on today's training, you could take away and go actually get results in your life. So we're going to start with actually, I'm going to go all the way up to step 5. We're going to keep with the diet stuff. If you want to go further with me, like I said, you can join the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse, and I'm going to share more about that at the end of the call. So let's start at step 1, eliminating all processed foods. So that means And now I'm not talking about that you should just eliminate these processed foods for a while. These need to not be in your diet permanently to get the health, the level of health that you desire to have. So anything that has refined oils in it. So that's all processed foods, basically. All the oils are going to be the cheapest, most refined oils. These oils are bleached. They're deodorized. And the reason why is because they're so rancid from the processing that they turn black. You would never buy them if they looked like that. So they bleach them, and then they stink because they're rancid. So they put deodorizers in them, so you can't tell, right? All these like vegetable oils that you can buy at the store that are refined, like corn oil and soy oil and all this stuff. And I also do not recommend canola oil. It's another refined oil. It's actually based on a plant that is in its natural form without the processing is poisonous to humans. It's originally called, it's from a plant called rapeseed, and that plant is poisonous to humans. And so they basically processed it so that they would take that component out of it that is toxic to humans. They eliminate that. And then they go and tell us, and this is the plant that has the most balanced oils that are perfect for humans, for human health. Like, please, why would God create a plant that's poisonous to humans and have it also be the best oil profile for humans? Obviously not. So it's a trick. So what they did was they called it to basically, to market it so people would actually buy it, they had to change the name. So first they called it Canada Oil, and then they changed it to the name canola oil. So there is no canola plant. There's a rapeseed plant that is processed to become something called canola oil. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be part of that experiment. So the only oils I ever use in my kitchen are olive oil and butter and coconut oil, and I will use toasted sesame seed for recipes. That's it. You don't need a bunch of oils in your kitchen, just the basics. Ones that are, found in nature, the ones that our ancestors have been using for all of time that we know of. And let's just keep it to that, the traditions of our ancestors. Also refined salt. Table salt is associated with all the negative health effects that you hear about salt, and it's also the salt that's in all these processed foods. Now, salt in its natural form has all the minerals in it that are balancing, and they're healthy for the body, and they actually prevent the same problems that refined salt is, that you're told why you should avoid salt. You don't need to avoid salt. You can have as much salt as your body asks you to have through taste, as long as it's the natural whole salt that hasn't been refined. That comes with a color in it, right? Like it's gonna be pink or gray, or it's gonna have some color to it. That tells you there's minerals in it. Refined sugar, okay? Again, refined sugar, it's bleached. All the nutrients are taken out of the sugar that were originally in it. So now you have a processed product. This is why it's so addictive, because it's like a drug. Now it's been so processed, it's become a drug. It's isolated. Basically, we've got the bleaching part of it, but it's just like all the nutrients that naturally would have come with sugar are no longer in there. So what happens is when you digest that sugar, your body has to pull from the minerals stored in your body. So taking away from your bones and your muscles to actually build the enzymes to break down the sugar. Same thing with refined flour, same thing, the bleaching and so these things like sugar and refined flour are actually, they're not empty calories, they're worse than empty calories because they're taking away from your body to have to digest them. It's like, this needs nutrients for digestion, right? So if you don't have nutrients coming with the food, the way nutrients would normally come with food, then you're gonna have to like take from your own stores. And a lot of people don't have very high stores of nutrients in their body, and then that will result in the body breaking down. Just to, in that moment, keep everything from, falling apart. So the final one is artificial sweeteners. So these are known neurotoxins to the brain. And the effect that they have in the body is to not actually help with weight loss. They are actually associated with weight gain and more cravings. So who cares about that? Like, I'm not interested in eating a neurotoxin. I don't know about you. So eliminate all processed foods. Okay, and then we have to eliminate things that are very inflammatory for people. It's a lot of foods, right? And a lot of them are like considered natural whole foods, but they're actually inflammatory. And so if you are at a plateau with your weight or at a plateau with your health, you can't get healthier, you're gonna need to eliminate these foods so that your body can actually have the inflammation go down and get into healing mode. So sugar, dairy, peanut butter, corn, wheat, eggs, soy, nightshade vegetables, and any food you know that you're sensitive to or intolerant to. Okay? When you eliminate these foods, then your body can actually like start to heal, right? Your digestive tract is not going to be bombarded by these inflammatory foods anymore, and you'll actually go into healing mode. What happens is your gut that was inflamed, once it's healed and it's not inflamed, then you'll be able to eat these foods in moderation. And this is another thing that our society tends to do is once you find out you have a food sensitivity or intolerance, you sort of identify as being in a certain group, like, oh, I don't eat this or I don't eat that because I'm, sensitive to it. If you choose to just avoid a food that you're sensitive to and not actually do this deep gut healing, what's going to happen is that inflammation that started this food sensitivity or intolerance, it's actually still there. You haven't healed it, right? So what happens is you just keep on getting sensitive or intolerant to more and more foods till there's nothing left to eat. So we don't want to just like avoid foods forever. We want to actually go deep into healing our body. And this is one of the ways of doing it with the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse. Okay, and nightshade vegetables, people are often surprised that those aren't an issue, but they are one of the most common things that will cause inflammation in people's bodies, especially people who have arthritis, joint pains, for example. Often nightshade vegetables are an issue. So they have to be eliminated for a certain amount of time until your gut is healed. And then what you do is you slowly reintroduce these foods one at a time. You never reintroduce sugar. Okay? We don't need sugar in any way, shape, or form that's refined. And I don't actually even eat unrefined sugar. It's not that I never eat it. Like if I go to a restaurant or I go to someone's house and they make something with sugar in it, I'm not going to be like, ugh. I mean, if I was on a cleanse, I would say no to it, right? Because I'm doing something specific and sort of inside of a certain container. But I will never bring that in my house. I'm not about to make food with sugar in it, even if it's natural whole sugar, like maple syrup or something like that. I'm just not going to do it. It's just a new standard that I have in my life, and it allows me to maintain a certain level of health and a certain weight, right? And it's an easy thing to do once you know how. Okay, and in the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse program, we do have recipes, like I said, that'll show you how to make things without sugar and have them still be sweet. And it's not just by adding stevia. Some foods are great with stevia, some aren't. But we do use erythritol, which is a fermented form of sugar that does not impact your blood sugar that much. So you can still make treats with it, and it's not going to cause a big spike in insulin, which is your fat storage hormone. So you don't have to feel deprived. So that's helped me get down to my ideal weight, but I don't see any purpose in reintroducing concentrated sources of sugar. And what you'll find is in the beginning is you might want to make a lot of those treats as you're getting yourself off your sugar addiction, but over time, you don't tend to eat a lot of them, right? Like it's not like I have, I'm not exposed on a daily basis to stevia or erythritol because I don't want them or need them now. It's just when you're struggling with carbohydrate addiction, then you will need those to get yourself off of it. And, I have to tell you, when I was at my, upper weight at 176 pounds, I would not have identified as being a carbohydrate addict because I was eating whole food carbs, complex carbs, right? And they're natural. So I would have never even identified that that was even an issue. But people who even eat whole food carbs are often carbohydrate addicts, okay? And part of it is because unfortunately, what happens is you're constantly eating complex carbs and they're high in that natural digestive sugar. What they're doing is they are constantly stimulating insulin, which blocks the other hormones, ghrelin and leptin, which will actually tell you that you're full. Okay, so you never feel satisfied no matter how many, you just keep, you just eat a big plate of lentils and rice and, good sourdough bread and a potato, and you're like, it's huge, and you just ate it and you're still hungry, right? Or you're hungry 30 minutes later. That's why. Okay, so that brings me to the next thing, is to eliminate all starchy foods. So you got to get rid of all your grains. It doesn't matter if they're whole grains. They're hard on the gut. Never mind even that they stimulate insulin and cause fat storage, but they're actually hard on your gut. So you're not going to be able to heal when you have these foods in. You can have them later in moderation. Okay, when you get your ideal weight and you establish like what works for you to maintain your ideal weight, everybody's going to have a different, depending on how much they've healed, how much that they can tolerate. But at the end of the day, in nature, we would not be exposed to large amounts of these foods, so we would naturally be able to eat this without really thinking about it and have starchy foods without gaining weight, because we just wouldn't have them so readily accessible the way we do because of industrialized society and the commercialization of food and grocery stores, etc. Right? If you just walked out into the bush today and you had to start growing all this stuff from seed, let's be honest, how many loaves of bread would you be really making, right? Because you have to pick these seeds out of everything, right? To like make bread and to boil some, of these, you'd have to pick so many apart, and you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't eat high starchy carbohydrate foods like this. So basically what I'm trying to say is that, because a lot of people just think like, oh, well, this is, too extreme, this idea. But it's like, no, it's not. It's not extreme at all. It's like just how natural like humans would eat, right? They would not have copious amounts of these foods. So they would never have to worry about eliminating them because they would just never overeat them. Okay, so we've got other things like seed grains. Again, quinoa, millet, buckwheat, amaranth. Quinoa has like, I think it's 8 teaspoons of natural digestive sugar in it. So that just spikes your insulin like right into fat storage mode. And it doesn't matter that it's like a whole complex carbohydrate food. That's just the end results of digesting that. If your metabolism is balanced and you don't have a damaged metabolism and you're really young, you can eat all these foods and you're not going to be fat. Okay. But if you have had babies or you're, over the age of like 35, for some people it's younger, right? These foods will actually make you fat, even though they are natural whole foods. And it doesn't matter what age you are, these are difficult to digest foods. So if you have food sensitivities or digestive issues, all of these things will make it worse. So we also have potatoes, yams, beets, and carrots, and legumes, beans, and lentils. So you're going to eliminate these things as well. Okay, so this is why I have this program. Like, if you look at all these foods I told you to eliminate, so let's go back. Okay, this is easy. It's just a matter of making different buying decisions about what you put in your shopping cart or you don't. Okay, this one's a little harder because these are foods you're used to eating, right? And a lot of them have an addictive quality to them and they're hard to stop eating. And then these ones are like, they're everywhere, right? Bread, potatoes, it's like in everything. So you might be wondering, what do I eat, right? And that's basically what you eat is non-starchy vegetables for your carbohydrates, okay? You can eat protein foods, high protein foods, high fat foods, okay? So we have our high fat fruits like olive oil and olives and avocado, for example. That's nice and filling. And there is a second phase of the program where you can add even dairy and eggs and red meat. The dairy has to be fermented. I'll talk about that in a second. And of course, you can have fish and seafood if you want to. You can also do the cleanse vegetarian, but it's harder to stay on it to get the results on a vegetarian diet, obviously because of the protein issue. All right. But you can, like 3 weeks of going vegetarian is not going to kill you. If you have your period, you know, you might, I'm just going to go actually to the next slide because I just mentioned this, then we'll go back. If you're in a state of deficiency, and a lot of people are when they're menstruating, for example, that would be the time in the cleanse that you would move to phase 2 and you would add these building foods, okay? So in phase 1, if you want, you can have fish. If that's like fish and seafood is gonna help you get your protein. You can do that. You can also use protein powder in the form of collagen powder with branched chain amino acids added to it. And then if you're vegetarian, and non-vegetarians can use that too. That and collagen powder is really, really great, not just for the protein side of it, but it's gonna, as long as you add the branched chain amino acids, because it doesn't have the right amino acid profile for muscle building. But it has it for building collagen, right? So for beauty purposes, for nice hair, skin, nails. So whether you're vegetarian or not, you can add that. Well, I guess if you're vegan, you're not going to want to have that because it's an animal food. You could use a vegetarian-based protein powder, but you're going to have to look at the carb count on it to make sure that that's not an issue, because a lot of, again, vegetarian things are higher in carbs. And make sure that there aren't things in it that are hard on the gut, like rice, for example. So for anyone who is struggling with being in a state of deficiency before you start, okay, so how you would know you're in a state of deficiency before you start is like you're weak, you're tired, you talk really slow and quiet, your face is sallow, it's white, your complexion is white. When you pee, it's like really clear. These are signs of deficiency, or if you're menstruating. So then you can do the same cleanse that I just said, focusing on the non-starchy vegetables, the low sugar fruits, and you can add in the organic red meat, organic home cultured dairy, okay, and eggs, as long as you know they're not a trigger for you, because they are one of the top allergens that people can react to and be inflammatory. So you have to kind of know that or test them in. The dairy has to be cultured because at home, so that it's cultured long enough for the beneficial bacteria to break down all the casein and lactose so that you can digest it properly. Okay, so these are some like adjustments that you can make to it. If you are lots of energy, you have a lot of voice, you talk fast, you have nice bright complexion, your pee is really yellow, that's a sign of excess, okay? So you're gonna be fine on the vegetarian version of the program because you need more cleansing foods, right? So these are building foods, but they're also cleansing because of the protein. A protein is an essential nutrient for your liver's detoxification process. So a lot of people think of, oh, meat is like toxic or something like that. No, it's not toxic. It's super nourishing, building. It'll help you detoxify properly because it's providing those amino acids that your liver needs for detoxification. Just make sure that it's from animals that are fed good quality diet so that they're not toxic when you eat them. And of course, you want them to be grass-fed so that you know that they are out on pasture, not only because it's providing them, like they're building their body with better nutrients, but then you know that that animal did not suffer in its life. You don't want to take that into your body either. Okay, so here's some of the foods besides the non-starchy vegetables and the low sugar fruits that you want to add into your diet. These are also healing and cleansing foods. Sea vegetables. You can get all sorts of different kinds of sea vegetables at the health food store. The easiest one you can get is the nori papers. They have the seaweed snacks that you can snack on. You want to have cultured foods that are full of beneficial bacteria for your gut to help with your digestion and heal your dysbiosis. So you have more good bacteria in your body, and it'll stop your sugar cravings and help you start to crave healthy food. Foods like sprouts and microgreens, which are live with enzymes. They have a lot of nutrition in them, and they help alkalize your body. So a lot of the problems that people have that are toxins are actually acids. Okay, so sometimes on this diet in the beginning, you actually might feel a little bit more pain in your body. That can be the acids flushing from your joints and from your muscles. Okay. Sometimes it's from deficiencies, right? If your muscles hurt, like say at night you're kicking your leg, that's because you're not getting enough minerals. That would be something that would tell you need more building foods. So you would add in the animal foods that I mentioned. And if that doesn't work, then you're gonna take some supplements like an electrolyte drink with lots of potassium and magnesium, and that will stop the leg stuff. Okay, so I just wanna show you one of the testimonials that just recently came in. This woman, it's really amazing what she's doing. Basically, she says, my belly is half its size. I've lost about 8 or 9 pounds without any other changes. And this is like not, she hasn't even started getting rid of all the inflammatory foods. All she's done so far is added cultured foods to her diet. She's eating a whole foods diet. She's added cultured foods to it, and she's taken out dairy. And she hasn't even started the cleanse, okay, at this point when she wrote this. She had already lost 8 or 9 pounds. She also got off her sleep medication. Okay, and I just got another email from her today. She's now on the cleanse itself, the actual Delicious Diet Deep Cleanse. And her pain that she was having in her body from fibromyalgia is down to 50% of the amount of pain that she had before. Okay, and this is just a couple weeks into the program. So, you know, you can get some amazing side benefits that you didn't even come for when you do this deep work of healing the gut, because it is the root cause of all the other problems, health problems that we have, because it's what starts the inflammatory process that leads to all the other issues. Okay, so this is something that, you know, you can go ahead and do what I mentioned. You'll get tons of results if you're just that kind of person and you just go do that. You don't need it. You'll do your own research, find your own recipes. You can absolutely do that. But if you're someone who would like to sort of have a tried and true approach and have all the resources at your fingertips, then I invite you to consider joining the Delicious Diet Deep Cleanse. So basically, when I first did this approach, all I had was a list of foods to eat and a list of foods not to eat. And wow, that first time I did it, it was a pretty boring diet because I didn't know how to put them together into the yummy, delicious meals. It was just like, I was just cooking one vegetable kind of at a time, right? Kind of boring. But over the years, over doing this for so long, I've created so many different recipes that you can just follow along. So you won't even notice that you're actually on a cleanse, right? Because you're going to be eating like yummy, delicious foods you've never tried before. And it's going to be expanding the amounts of foods that you know of that are available to you. And of course, you can keep using all of these recipes throughout your life. You don't have to just do it when you're on the cleanse, okay? And also the beauty of it is this is meant to be something that you do on a regular basis to up level your life, right? So I recommend that you don't just buy the cleanse and do it once, but you actually decide, okay, this is gonna be like your health plan for your future so that you can move into, as you age, you can become healthier instead of become sick, right? Because our society tells you like, oh, if you're old, that's just what happens, you just get sick. That's not what happens. That's actually something created, right? It's created by our diet and lifestyle choices. So you can actually use this to choose something else. And every time you do it, you're not going to just up level your internal health, but you're going to up level your whole entire life in the process. And that's why we have all the 5 modules in the program. So the first module is just the diet, right? So it's what I've taught you today and more. And then module 2 is about a lifestyle that supports ongoing healing and health. And then module 3 is a home detox program, which basically gets you to walk through your house and see all of the externally generated toxins that you're exposed to and eliminate them and what to use instead. And then module 4 is the environment up level. So looking at, your surroundings, and, are you surrounded by dirt and clutter, et cetera. You're going to go through your house and your life and like detox your life basically. Looking at things that are draining you in your life, right? Because those you're literally losing energy when you're, have all these chronic stresses, things left undone, the stuff that's draining you in your life. You're going to be able to, like, once you get the diet sort of going after about the first week and you're into it and you got it, right? Then you're going to go to the next level and you're just going to like up level all the areas of your life simultaneously. That's why I, called it 21 days to deep cleanse plus get shit done, right? And then finally is the inner work, right? So now that you've created space in your life, you've literally changed the stuff that's been weighing you down. You've eliminated it from your life. Now you want to look, now that you have this clean canvas, well, what do you want to create next, right? That's the inner work that we're doing in module 5 that will support you to pull out of you what you need to really give yourself permission to dream big and to create your life consciously instead of just living by default. Okay, wrong way. Okay, so the diet training topics include 13 ways cleansing helps you to lose weight, exactly what to eat versus what not to eat and why, so you know exactly why. It's really important, I think, to know the why of things. That helps you stay with doing it. Success tips for completing the 21 days, right? Because it's a challenge for sure to get it to 21 days. How to come off the cleanse properly. It's really important that you come off properly so that you maintain your results. And then how to extend the cleanse into phase 2. If you have a lot of weight to lose and you want to lose it fast, then you'll just keep alternating phase 1, phase 2, phase 1, phase 2 until you get there. And then you'll go on to the main Delish diet after that. So the lifestyle training topics include how to unblock your body's capacity to heal and get into healing mode. So I give you a lot of different tools and things that you can use to get out of fight or flight and into rest and digest so you can heal. Covering topics like sunbathing, to sun or not to sun, how to get rehydrated, giving yourself permission to sleep, vitamin G and electron deficiency, and so much more. Home detox trainings include understanding what obesogens are, identifying if you have estrogen dominance and the hidden sources of xenoestrogens in your life and getting those out, improving your indoor air quality and realizing that your skin eats, and how to upgrade your personal care, cleaning, and makeup products. And of course, there's always more to these modules. I can, in a time period like this, I don't have time to tell you every single detail. I'm just giving you some of the highlights. The up-level your environment trainings include dropping what's draining you, 21 days to declutter and clean your house plan, how to create sacred space in your home, and more. And then finally, the inner work trainings are using cleansing to transform and up-level your life, raising your standards, and then creating an ultimate vision of clarity of your life from those standards that you've created for yourself, that you've raised. When you raise your standards, you're going to have a new vision for your future and your life and what you're going to be creating. So besides the modules, the training also includes meal ideas, recipes, 3 weeks of done for your menu plan. So there's one that's vegetarian based, there's one that has seafood, and there's one that's nightshade free. So one of the vegetarian plans has nightshades, one doesn't. And then a plan for how to get prepared so that you are you're going to be more successful, right? There's this saying is fail to plan, planning is planning to fail. I really believe that. I don't think you should jump into this. I really, truly believe that you are going to get the best results if you really, really consume the trainings and understand why you're doing what you're doing. That's what's going to keep you going when the going gets tough, because it will. There's lots of different reasons why it can be a challenge to people, and we're all individuals. So what your challenge is maybe going to be different than someone else's challenge. Okay, we've also got special topics, how to deal with a cleansing reaction. So remember earlier I told you we can do that with food. We don't have to use herbs. So I have a video training on how to do that, how to slow down your detox if you need to. How to overcome constipation, right? Because you should not be cleansing if you are not eliminating properly. You need to make sure your bowels are like evacuating properly so that when those toxins start to get stirred up and start to come out, they can leave. And then of course, how to digest fats better, because so many people who've been on these fat-free diets for so long lose their ability to digest fats, and you can have like gallbladder symptoms, etc. So I teach you how to improve your fat digestion so you can incorporate more and more fats into your diet, which is also really satiating so you feel full and not hungry. Okay, and then there are some bonuses. There is the Delish Diet Masterclass, the secrets to losing the weight in 12 simple steps. So for those of you who, you just had that 15 pounds to lose and you're wondering, okay, now how do I continue to eat to keep this off? Then all you need is the Delish Diet Masterclass, and that's included with this program. For those of you that have a lot more weight to lose, but you don't want to keep doing phase 1 and phase 2 to get there, you can upgrade to the Delish Diet Immersion course, and it teaches you everything you need to know about how to lose the weight sustainably and naturally and permanently without giving up the rich, creamy, sweet comfort foods you love. Then there's a Seasonal Rejuvenation Masterclass. This teaches you how to take the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse and customize it for the different season that you're in. Okay, because there is actually, like, every season is associated with a different organ in the body. So as you go throughout the year, and when you do the Delish Diet Cleanse and you recognize which season you're in, you can customize it to specifically nourish that organ when it's in season. So that's bringing you, giving your body love and attention throughout the year, right? It's so different than how we typically relate to our body, right? Either just ignoring it until it starts hurting and giving us symptoms, and then we're mad at it, when actually all it's trying to do is get our attention so that we'll take care of it so that we can be healthy, right? And then finally, the How to Heal Your Gut Masterclass. So the Heal Your Gut Masterclass is showing you how to take what you're doing in the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse to a deeper level if you need to. If you have more intensive digestive issues or food sensitivities and intolerances. Okay. So, it sounds amazing, but are you wondering if you can do it, right? Like anybody can do this. It really just comes down to making a decision and then following through with committed action. Like, how badly do you need this right now? Like, do you have a deadline? Are you not feeling well? Like, do you need to take control of your health now? You have to decide whether your health is your priority or not. And you can feel that right now. It's just, you know it, right? When your health is needing to be the priority, your body lets you know. Okay, so you may also be wondering if you have the time. So I'll be honest that this is time consuming, especially the first time around, because there's so much learning involved. You have to consume the trainings, you have to learn the guidelines, then you also have to learn to cook new recipes. So definitely. But again, this is meant to be done on a regular basis. And so it'll become easier and easier and second nature to you over time. Okay, you can actually listen to the trainings while you're cooking and cleaning. You don't need to sit in front of a video and watch it. You can literally just put it on, and it will play in the background and you'll learn, right? And of course, there's handouts for everything, right? So all the most important points are on the handouts. You can print them. So if you walk into a different room because you got to do something or come out, or a kid comes and starts asking you something, you're not going to miss the important parts because they're on the handouts. Okay, you just can review the handouts after. And then in time, you consider how much time you want to waste before you put your health first, right? Because you're probably not enjoying your time very much if you're not in an optimal state of health. And at the end of the day, there never really is a good time. There's always something, right? There's always a gathering or a holiday or something, right? Like, there's just never a good time. But if you have a deadline, then you'll know if you need to start right away or not. And then, of course, because every time you do it, you have more experience behind you, it just gets easier. Okay, and then it's the money concern, right? That's another, these are the things. It's always like time, energy, money, right? So think about it this way. You either pay now or you pay later, right? Like, if you put and invest your time and energy and your money into your health now, then you're not going to have to pay later with health problems. Okay. A lot of times people just, they want to scrimp and save on food, put no money into good quality food, and then they're not well. And then by the time they're retired, they have this money, but they don't have the body to be able to enjoy life with, right? Like, you don't want to pay later in that way. And then, of course, drugs, right? Like, a lot of people have to spend a lot of money on painkillers, future medications, out-of-pocket medical services, right? So this is prevention. It's invisible, right? It's like you just basically want to take care of your body in the best possible way that you can, so that you have the best quality of life moving forward and you're less susceptible to disease. Okay, if you can be resourceful and go get the money. You save it, make it, or borrow it, right? It's your decision about your health. You can take it into your own hands and do what it takes to get what you need to do to make yourself healthy. A lot of times we sit around in victim mode and just be like, I can't do anything about it, right? But it's like, this is your body, this is your health, right? You have to do whatever you need to do to get the money. And if it means you have to take a part-time job so that you can afford the cleanse, the program, the supplements, whatever it is that your body needs. And I'll just to remind you, there is no supplements required in this program, other than if you start to get the any leg cramps or something like that, then I definitely recommend the electrolyte drinks or magnesium or both. But it's not necessary. You can do this with just food. It just depends on, if you have a mineral deficiency to start, this could exacerbate it in the beginning as your digestion's healing, right? And you're not maybe at your optimal absorption quite yet. But of course, there's a lot of vegetables that are high in minerals, and same with red meat. So you can just add that in if you need to as well. And obviously your health and your quality of life is worth it, right? And just consider it an investment in your health currently, like your experience of your life now, and then also your future health. And then you can also think of it in a different way, right? Like how much more productive or effective are you going to be generating money with a healthy mind and body? So if you're an entrepreneur, for example, and you're depressed and you're unmotivated, obviously that's going to affect your ability to make money. So while this doesn't seem like it's going to generate money, the net effect is that it helps you to generate money. And then of course, if you are constantly getting sick, which a lot of people who eat a lot of sugar are constantly doing, because that is actually depressing your immune system and making you susceptible to just colds and flus. And then you're constantly missing days of work. So how much does that cost you, right? And then finally, another thing that you can do is if you love this training and you love this approach, you can become an affiliate of all the Delish Diet products and just make your money back, or make your money ahead of time and purchase the program to get the help that you need if that's what you desire. Okay, so if you're ready to join us, you can start right away. Here's the link. I just shortened it here with Bitly. So you just basically plug this into the search, like the URL bar on your computer, and it'll take you right to the sales page where you can learn more about the program. It'll tell you like everything that you need to know about what's included. You got a lot of it here, but it will repeat it because I'm sure you don't want to watch this whole thing again. Okay, and now I'm going to share with you my special tips for people who know they need to do this, but they're afraid that they won't be able to. So one of the things you can do is just incorporate the cleanse foods into what you already eat, just to help you get familiar with them. So it's what it does is it just like trying out these recipes proves to you that you'll still be eating delicious foods while you're cleansing. Okay, and then you're going to have less of a like steep learning curve right at the beginning because you're slowly learning. Right? And you're not rushing yourself. If you don't have a deadline, you don't have to rush, right? Or if you're not really sick, you don't have to rush. You can literally just relax about it, learn it, start trying some foods, and then when you feel ready, start. Because if you're just learning, you're going to make so many other improvements that are going to start piling up and getting effects, just like eating the whole foods and eliminating one inflammatory food. Like one of my clients I mentioned earlier and showed you her testimonial. That's what she did, right? She just made some really simple changes and got some really major results. So it's not all or nothing. Just let that thing go, okay? You can make the cleanse-friendly treats, right? Like the Skinny Bomb recipes, like I mentioned. I mentioned the chocolate fudge already. There's lots of little other Skinny Bomb recipes. You can make macadamia nut butter cups, just like peanut butter cups, but instead of peanut butter, it's macadamia nuts. And then like helva, which people may or may not have heard of. It's like, I think like a Mediterranean treat. And it's just like with tahini, so sesame seed, and then you can put chocolate on it. So good. So you never have to feel deprived. These Skinny Bomb recipes, because they're high in fat, they satiate you. So helps you get to the end of the program. Because when people want to quit, it's because they're just hungry, right? They just don't feel full. If you're just eating too many vegetables and not enough protein and fat, then you won't feel satisfied. So that really will help you feel nourished and satisfied, and that you'll get to the 21 days, no problem. Okay, and then a bonus tip is that you can still have black coffee. A lot of people feel a lot relieved about that because a lot of us are addicted to coffee, and it's one of the hardest things to stop drinking because we live in a society that's constantly making us feel like there's things that we have to do that we don't want to do. And of course, when you have that coffee, it gives you a boost of serotonin and it helps you get through things, right, that you don't want to do. And then with the addiction part, it's also that, you want to add it to things that you love and things that you don't like to do. You want coffee. If there's something you want to do, you like doing it, you want to add coffee, right? I totally understand because this is one of my addictions is coffee, right? It's my biggest one. So it's better to do the cleanse without coffee, but you can still get the results with coffee. So drink black coffee. If you want to make a latte, you can make a nut milk from macadamia nuts, or with a hot version, or you can actually put it like your coffee over ice and then you add straight coconut milk from a can. It's delicious to the max. For some reason, I don't like that with warm coffee, but with cold coffee, coconut milk out of a can tastes amazing. And you can sweeten it with erythritol. So it's not going to be like stevia with a yucky aftertaste. It's just has the same like sweetness as sugar. It doesn't actually like have any aftertaste. The only thing with erythritol is some people with really intensive gut issues can sometimes feel a little bit, their stomach feels a little bit weird with it. So if that's the case, then stick to the stevia for a while, or just use small amounts of it. Don't use too much and it won't bother you. There's another thing that we do in the cleanse, and that is you can make coffee that's deacidified. So you can get those benefits of not having acid coming in with your coffee. So that's going to be really helpful for you in terms of if you have pains in your muscles or joints. You can also preferably, like much preferably, have decaf coffee, because you want to get into rest and digest. And when you're having coffee that is caffeinated, it will keep you in that stimulated mode. It's not great for your nervous system. So just start where you're at and then wean yourself down to decaf, if at all possible, and then get from there onto deacidified coffee. And then you'll still be able to have your goal of getting healthier and healing and letting go of the weight, but with that, at least having one vice in just makes it a little bit easier for people, especially when you have to go to work and stuff like that. All right, so thank you so much for taking the time to learn about how you can use cleansing for weight loss. And if you're interested in joining the Delish Diet Deep Cleanse program, here's the link again where you can join. And you'll also have access to that link through all the emails that you've already received and will receive after this. So if you can't write this down quick enough, just go back to your email and you'll find it. All right, again, thanks so much for watching, and that was a pleasure to share with you how you can use cleansing for weight loss while getting healthier in the process. Bye for now.